Gunnar headed back to Rorick's hut, deep in thought. Father had been a warrior in the Greek Emperor's Guard too, so he and Rorick might have known each other, perhaps even fought in the same battles. If they had, then perhaps Rorick could be persuaded to think of him not as a slave, but as a son of a shield brother, someone he should help. Gunnar had begun to wonder if he would ever be able to escape from Kaupang unaided. Talking to Rorick about Miklagard was worth a try anyway, though he would have to choose the right moment. After a while he turned a corner and stopped in his tracks. 2 boys were standing by the entrance to another alley a little further ahead. One of them was Gork, and he was talking intently to the other, a red-haired boy who seemed nervous and bewildered. Suddenly, Gunnar realised what Gork was doing and felt a hot rush of anger. Gork had found another victim. "What do you want, slave?" said Gork, frowning as Gunnar approached. "Let me guess what he's said to you," Gunnar said to the red-haired boy. "He's offered to take you to a great tavern." "That's right," said the boy. "How did you know?" "Don't listen to him, my friend," Gork said, easing between Gunnar and the boy. "He's nothing but a slave who talks too much. On your way, Gunnar." "I know, because that's how he trapped me," said Gunnar. "I'm a slave because I believed his lies." Gunnar pulled down the neck of his tunic to show the boy his thrall ring, the skin rubbed raw beneath it. "So you'd better get as far away as you can, unless you want to end up wearing one of these." "Now you really are being a nuisance," Gork hissed. "Ivor? Niall?" Gork stepped aside and Ivor and Niall emerged from the shadows behind him. The red-haired boy took one look at them and turned to run. Ivor made a grab for his arm, but Gunnar shoved Gork, sending him crashing into his henchmen. The 3 of them fell in a tangle of arms and legs and the boy got away. "You'll pay for that, slave," Gork snarled, pushing Ivor and Niall off and struggling to his feet. "Well, go on, you idiots! Kill him!" Any fear Gunnar might have felt was overcome by his hatred of the alley rats who had sold him for a few gold coins, trapping him in Kaupang when he should have been on his quest. Niall was on all fours, groping for his club in the mud. Gunnar stamped on his hand, grinding it in with his heel and feeling the knuckle bones crack. Niall howled, and Gunnar picked up the club to deal with Ivor, smashing it into his knee. Ivor went down like a tree felled by an axe. Then Gork came at him with a knife, and Gunnar whipped around, barely noticing the slim blade slicing into his sleeve. He smashed the club into Gork's elbow, and his enemy sank to his knees, the colour draining from his face. Gunnar stood over him, ready to strike again. Gork flinched, his eyes wide with fear, but Gunnar lowered the club. "Just get out of my sight," he said. Gork scuttled away. The other 2 stumbled after him, Niall clutching his fingers, Ivor limping. Gunnar threw the club aside and turned to go, only to stop in his tracks once more. Rorick was leaning against a nearby hut. "You look pleased with yourself," said Rorick. "That must have felt good, although I see Gork has left his mark." Rorick nodded at Gunnar's arm, where blood was staining the cloth. "It's nothing," said Gunnar, not wanting to make any fuss. Rorick frowned. "It'll still need cleaning." Back at the hut, Rorick quickly built up the fire and heated some water in a silver bowl. He had added a sprinkle of aromatic dried herbs from a little bag he took out of the chest, then dampened a fine cloth in the fragrant water and gently cleaned Gunnar's wound. A shallow cut, the length of a little finger. He carefully patted Gunnar's arm dry and tied another cloth around it. "You'll live," said Rorick, ruffling the boy's hair. He went over to the door and emptied the bowl, chucking the water out into the alley. "At least till next time you get in a fight. Although you weren't at all bad." "You're good at this," said Gunnar, nodding at the neat bandage around his arm. He pulled on his tunic, making sure not to spoil Rorick's handiwork. "You get to see a lot of wounds in my trade," said Rorick, "and you learn to take care of your comrades, as they take care of you." Gunnar studied the big man, and thought of the way Rorick had just salved his wound and ruffled his hair, and practically called him a comrade. He hadn't seen any other slaves in Kaupang being treated like that by their masters. It seemed more the kind of thing a brother might do for a brother, or a father for a son. "Did you learn that when you were in Miklagard?" he said quietly. Rorick glanced at him, surprised. Who told you I've been to Miklagard? Thorkel. I was talking to him earlier and it just sort of came up. I'll bet, snorted Rorick. Thorkel gossips like an old woman. But is it true? Were you in the Greek Emperor's Guard? Why do you want to know? Rorick threw a log on the fire. Sparks flew. The flames leapt higher. Shadows danced around them like ghosts. Because if it is, we have something in common. My father went to Miklagard, and he served in the Greek Emperor's Guard too. Is that so? And when might that have been? I'm not sure. I know he was back before I was born. Well, we could not have known each other then, said Rorick, shaking his head. I saw Miklagard for the first time 5 summers ago. They fell silent for a moment. Gunnar was bitterly disappointed that this new piece of knowledge hadn't changed things. Rorick stared into the fire, his face closed, the way he looked when a black mood was about to settle on him. Now what? Thought Gunnar. How could he build on his revelation? Get Rorick to listen to him? What's Miklagard like? He asked eventually. Father never talked of it much, except to say the godhouses of the Christians are full of gold. The Greeks call them churches, muttered Rorick, and I don't talk about those days much either, not even to Thorkel when I'm drunk. Why is that? What happened to you in Miklagard? Gunnar waited, but Rorick didn't answer. What was it you said to me? Gunnar went on. Oh yes, there's always a story to tell, so maybe I can guess some of yours. You came here to forget something bad and punish yourself for ending up as one of Orm's hounds. That's why you have your black moods and get drunk. Rorick scowled at him. Take care, boy. Some men will kill you for speaking to him like that. My moods are none of your business, or anyone else's. And why all this talk of your father? What do you want from me? My freedom, and your help. Rorick snorted. To do what? Avenge my father. He was murdered by raiders. So it seems both our lives are darkened by the shadow of the past. But if you want a man's help, you must tell him the whole story. Then you must tell me yours. That's only fair. I'll be the one who decides what's fair, boy, said Rorick. And this is not the moment for me to talk. I'll tell you my story, only when I'm ready. Gunnar knew he was beaten, so he plunged into his tale. Rorick sat listening in silence. I'll take your word for some of it, he said when Gunnar had finished. I've seen halls burned in and all that part of your story has a feel of truth. But the part about the Valkyries, can you prove you actually saw them? Gunnar looked at him, then lowered his gaze. No, I can't. At least you're honest, said Rorick. I've seen some strange things, but I've never seen a Valkyrie, and I fought in my fair share of battles. So you don't believe me, said Gunnar. I swear it's all true. That's not nearly enough, boy. Rorick stood up, his face closed off once more. Now I have a raging thirst I need to quench. Gunnar watched his master go and felt his heart fill with blackness.